Everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamey Daddy channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So today's video is me trying to start out my wish list for, in quote, year 3. Now, based on all of the stuff that we have heard from last week, where basically we heard from the horse's mouth that the Division 2 or the Division, in quote, will still be supported by Ubisoft's massive studio. I think it's time for us as a community to start to talk about some of the things that we would like to see. And before I even jump into this video, I encourage other content creators who are on the PvP side of things to also start making these videos and talking about some of the things that they would like to at least see from that perspective and some of the things the community has been asking for in regard to PvP for year 3. This is a good opportunity to have these conversations and kind of see where it'll land. Not saying that, it's going to affect anything. There are things that I've been asking for in this game that I literally had to ask for 12 months before we got to see a glimpse of it. So I think, I'm doing this because, as a YouTuber, I have the platform and I feel like it's some of the things that I would like to also see as a player. And you as a listener, an audience member, if there's something you'd also like to see, I would encourage you to write it down in the comment section, because this is one of the best things that we can do in a way that we give feedback. I know the devs want people to go to the Ubisoft forums, but anyways, the very first thing that I would like to see for year 3 is at least an incursion style content. You see, what the developers are going to be doing in this particular year 3, I don't know if it's going to be a DLC or if it's going to be seasons, but I'm not writing off the possibility or the potential that we're going to be getting a little bit more story content that's engaging. And I know incursions are kind of challenging to build. They're not necessarily, easy missions that are somewhat linear. Like, say, remember when they got us Coney Island and we just went to this particular location and played 2 missions there. There was a little bit of a linear aspect to it. Incursions, on the other hand, require mechanics. They are linear, but then they kind of fall deep. It's like you're walking this straight road and you dive into just, this, deep ditch where you now have to kind of, grapple with all of the nuances of what the mission has to bring. And I think this is a very nice aspect, or it's going to provide a new layer to the game that really helps a lot of people who are kind of, I would say, freelancers enjoy much more in-depth content, mechanics, and also a little glimpse of the community. And I think this is very important. Some people enjoy the in-depth community that the Division can actually bring to a game. I'm not going to lie. This game is designed with community in mind. I mean, every single aspect of the Division 2, they nailed down that community development side. Division 1 was very decentralized. If you guys remember, we didn't have the clan system, but Division 2 right now, the clan system, put that and pair it with, a lot of the technology that we have, like Discord and all of those things, really do fuse all of what players actually want to see in a game that encourages cooperative play. We are seeing it in the Division 2 even more than the Division 1. And I feel like incursions kind of provide players who do not necessarily want to engage with that level of community kind of a taste of what some of the in-depth mechanics can actually be in a game like The Division. I know some people who've told me I just have some anxiety where I can't see myself going into a raid with 8 people. It's just going to break me. And I definitely understand. I work with people daily. Different personality types in my place of work. And I can tell you that there truly are people that will be very overwhelming for. And it's not necessarily a deficiency. It's just the way personality types are built. And so I think this is going to be something that accommodates that segment and is also going to be, available for everyone at the end of the day to also enjoy those mechanics and provide some level of farming. If you even think about, say, maybe incursions like Falcon Lost, one of my favorite incursions, even Dragon's Nest, one of the most boring ones, or Claire Sky, one of the, I would say easy to run ones, these missions actually did provide a whole lot of playtime for a lot of players, myself included, and they also provided basically a means that players could use to just kind of, farm. Claire Sky was one of the best incursions to farm because you could just run it in 5 to 7 minute runs, or even I think it was some of the best runs were around that point. I mean, I say 5 minutes, but it's more like 7 minutes or, in some cases 10 minutes. And this was just a very interesting way. It wasn't necessarily designed for people to run it as fast, but as a community, we kind of came together and honed it down. And it was one of these incursions where, you could basically jump in, get your, your rewards and all of that stuff, take down an incursion boss very easily, and players enjoyed playing it. Falcon Lost was more for just, that extreme discomfort. Falcon Lost is designed from a level perspective where the level is supposed to be one of your biggest handicaps. Because at first, when you kind of start, you're going into this underground tunnel, but you have to go into this particular place where you're locked in, you're level gated, and then you're going to have to play in that level with something basically constantly shooting bombs at you and can get you. So that was the concept behind Falcon Lost. A lot of people don't like Falcon Lost. They'll tell me all the while that's the worst incursion ever, and I say, well, for you, but for me, I really enjoyed it, and I actually loved Falcon Lost the way that it played. And then you also had Stolen Signal, which I only beat once, but man, that thing gave me a big, huge, difficult time. And I think more like it was more of us kind of getting to know the mechanics as a community as well. But eventually, it became something where everybody could actually understand and play it. But that incursion was one of the best incursions in terms of level design, progression, and all of the above. It really did show, the quality that they have in designing levels at Massive, for their content. So this is one thing that I would like to be in our wish list for, the year 3. I think it's going to be a very big deal. I think players are going to really enjoy, something of that sort. And, if you bring it full circle, I think one of the really interesting things that I've said in the past is, the Division story has not necessarily intrigued me too much. And yes, I said that, but there are elements within the story that I must confess were very interesting, at least to bring me into, the game. And I would say, that's something that I feel like the developers have the opportunity this year to actually get to flesh out more of this Division 2 story. Division 1 story was very interesting, in my opinion anyways. Compared to Division 2 story, yeah, I see Division 1 story as the original being kind of like the one that had a lot of the meat on the bones. But Division 2 has kind of felt really different in a sense. Some of our favorite characters, or some of our, I would say, more known characters seem to be getting, killed off or whatever. I mean, Fei Lao is in quote dead. I don't believe she is. Aaron Keener is already also dead, and we have his watch and all of that. So how and, what's going to happen with the rest of the lore? I mean, I think this is an opportunity that they need to use to pretty much bring the lore to light and not just necessarily pour out seasons or, whatever it is, but it needs to be a thing. And, if you think about the way the seasonal model is, I genuinely believe that the seasonal models are going to follow the way the year 2 followed. There was year 2 and then 4 seasons to follow with it. I think there's going to be year 3 expansion and content and also that. And then another thing that I would love to see on my wish list is at least some mode that allows for, PvP and even a PvE collaboration, something along the lines of Last Stand. As much as I'm not a PvP player in the Division game, I think Last Stand provided an avenue for players who are not necessarily into the PvP, but want to at least engage in it, or at least, continue that community aspect of the game where you can play a mode that allows for you to be able to join up with, all of those other, elements, and then, you pick it in and you go for it. And I think Last Stand actually did provide that, which was one of the PvP modes that actually did draw me in. And I played with friends, back in the PlayStation days, would have these big communities where we played together, and it was quite interesting to play. And then if I wanted to just go ahead and ask for basically the icing on the cake, it's survival. There's nothing more that we need to say. Survival has to come to the Division 2 or some mode of storytelling that really does highlight more on the environmental piece and the power of telling a story in the Division world using, the elements and using the world that is around you. I think this game has the potential to do that in any case, even the Division 2 itself. And many of us have actually given and thrown out all kinds of fun ideas that would literally, take on how they can actually take on this survival gesture if they really wanted to do it, because you have the True Sons. They could be at the helm of it using DC62. You could also bring all kinds of really fun mechanics into the game that are already available right now. The game already does support a lot of that. So I believe and I think that if they're able to bring these kinds of content pieces that would definitely reach out and kind of tell the PvP community, yo, it's been a very weird game, but we still want to make sure that our PvP community feels like they have something going. And even kind of fused out the PvE community, I think we're going to be able to see something that everybody can come together, especially bringing a mode that's already been in existence in the game in the past. And then even bring in survival, which is more, about the nostalgia than anything else, providing a game mode that players can just veg in and just, concentrate on. Survival had that concentration type mechanic where for a few minutes or maybe about an hour, depending on how you wanted to play it, you could just basically focus and ensure that you stayed alive throughout the entirety of the game. But pretty much that's basically my list, my wish list for year 3, in quote, if it's a thing. And I wanted to go ahead and just share with you guys. Devs, I know y'all are listening. Y'all always, eavesdrop on our conversations out here in the community. It's not a bad thing, but, we would like for y'all to actually act upon them in many instances quickly. That way, I think people will be more happy. And we understand, there are all kinds of issues here and there. There are all kinds of challenges, and it's a process. So let's keep talking about these things. Hopefully they're listening, and hopefully they're going to be implementing them down the road. Appreciate y'all. Peace out.